Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Transcending Together with Julianne, Lee, and Rachel. Hi, everybody. Welcome. We have a changed lineup today. Unfortunately, our good friend Rachel couldn't make it. I know they were very, very keen to join in on this. Unfortunately, they've got excuse me, they've got another engagement. So it's just the three of us today. So I will hand over to Lee, who's going to announce who our guest is, another one from across the pond.
Yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Transcending Together. Today, we're embarking on a special journey. It's about alignment with the vibration and the vibrant season of Aries. And our guest today is our good friend Devin Augustus from South Carolina. Welcome,
Yes.
Devin. Nice to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Devin.
Well,
Just a
I
quick intro.
quick intro. I am a holistic health and wellness coach. I specialize in health, mindset, and nutrition for the LGBTQ community and also women and their allies. Um, Kind of make it really simple. I tell people if you do not believe in the social, political, economic equality of all sexes and all genders, then Kinetic Energy is probably not the company that's going to serve you best. So you have to fit somewhere in that spectrum. I'm a Southern boy, born and raised. I'm originally from Georgia, and I've been in South Carolina here about a year. And I started my company about 2 years ago, and just scaling it and trying to get the message out and spread inclusivity and health and positivity in any way I can.
Fantastic. Now, I know something about you. You've got a passion for your chosen sport, and that is cheerleading. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So I started jumping out of windows right after the time I could walk, flipping on sofas and tumbling around, and that didn't seem to jive too well with the parental figures. So my dad said I was about maybe 5 or 6, and I was out at a football game, and there were these cheerleaders, these guys and girls out there. This is back in the 80s when there wasn't any rules, so they were flipping and jumping and all this stuff. And he said my eyes got so big, and I was like, Dad, I'm going to do that. And that's what I did. So I started tumbling and cheering. Um, I think my mom first signed me up for my gymnastics class. I might have been 10. Kind of did that off and on, and couldn't really get too serious because I'm very tall. And so, about 8th grade, I transitioned to cheer, and literally have been doing it ever since up until this year. Finally, cut ties with the gym I was working at, so I could just focus on me and my own ambitions.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about harmonizing diversity, and in particular, bringing that in with the Aries season of inclusivity as we celebrate Diversity Month. Um, what can you tell us about how we can explore the dynamic energies of, in particular, Aries in terms of the nurturing power of the number 6 and how we can share inspiring stories about inclusivity?
Well, Aries is a cardinal fire sign, and it's actually the first sign of the zodiac, and it represents courage, leadership, and kind of the pioneering spirit. You know, um, and we're just at a place now where that is so much more important than I feel like it's ever been. There's so much that is stacked up against people who are diverse, who don't kind of toe the line, or fit into the status quo or what's considered normal. And we're just at a very interesting time, in society and, where we are in the universe, how we're traveling, and more so than ever, there's voices of feminism and, the sacred, divine, feminine is really coming back into light. People are really embracing that energy. A lot of the voices that have been muted and under recognized, and I'm trying to keep it PG without going too deep, because it's very, people are spending a
It
lot of
doesn't
time.
have to be PG, by the way.
Oh,
When
okay,
I
Yeah.
good.
upload it, it will be not for children, so that's fine.
Good. Well, people are spending a lot of time keeping a lot of ignorant shit in society. And, we're just at a time where I feel like we have to embrace a paradigm shift, because what brought us to this point obviously isn't working, for the majority of people. And I think it's important that the voices that have been the majority kind of tamper down a little bit, but unfortunately, equality feels like deprivation when you're used to privilege. And so we spend so much energy running away from things and not giving it a chance to really be understood and being able to observe things without absorbing them, to stand back and be objective about other people's views or their lives and the freedoms that they want. It's just part of being human. It's part of being mature. So that's Aries in itself. It's the ram. They're going to knock you over, and they're going to get it through without you agreeing or not. So I feel like now more so than ever, people are rising up to that, to meet that moment.
What do you think why do you think, I mean, I've been pondering about this a lot lately, because so from sort of 2012 to 2018, it was almost a grace period where there seemed to be a big groundswell in acceptance and generally embracing the way things are. And I was always very much into the whole 2012 Mayan calendar thing. And I always chalked it up to that. And I thought maybe there was this conscious mind shift that actually happened in 2012. Now, obviously, since 2019, and I don't know if the pandemic had anything to do with this as well, but it was possibly before the pandemic. But yeah, from about 2019, there seems to have been this groundswell pushing back against it. And I'm wondering, is it the last gasp, dying embers? Or are you fearful perhaps that it's gaining momentum and strength? What's your view on that?
I think that 2012, like you said, with the shifting of, the ages and the awakening of, the public consciousness, unfortunately, it was aligned with someone who was willing to be their worst because they've never been held accountable, and it kind of amplified the voices of people who wanted to be, spreaders of vitriol and just ignorance, and really a disregard for, in America, the social excuse me, the discourse and talking to each other and really meeting in the middle. Like you think about 2012 to 2016, leading up into Trump's election, it was like the end of an era. The John McCain's, the George W. Bushes, the Obamas, all those people who were like, no, I can stand on my side and still meet you in the middle. It was like the end of that age. And so now what we have is this people with a blatant disregard for the effects of what they say, or just the unabashed acceptance of their hatred or their ignorance. And unfortunately, it's global. Whether it be the war in Ukraine and now this issue in Israel, all these people in power and all these democracies refusing to take a stand and say, no, we're not going to do this. This is wrong, stop it. Because all the world powers could do it. But unfortunately, there's no profit in peace, especially in this day of social media where everything's about how many clicks you get and how many people see it. everyone's trying to get that sound bite. They're trying to be heard no matter what it takes, even if there's no substance to it. And, speaking of, like I mentioned the number six, it represents perfection in the sense of it's the sum of all its divisors. And I think that kind of resonates with the world. We are the sum of everything that divides us because it's been a calculated choice to allow it to go on. We have to be able to embrace and also release the same thing for each other. If I want to live completely freely and be able to express myself and make decisions that fit me best and align with whatever I believe in or whatever my purpose is, then I have to be willing to extend that grace to everyone else, even if I don't agree with it. That's where you get into, really inclusivity and, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, all those things we have to protect because we want to be able to have those same things. When someone says something that we don't agree with, we have to give them that space to do it, as long as it's not turned into the violence and trying to actively diminish someone else's place, whether it be racism or, feminism or transgender people, the LGBT community. It's like, it's fine. It's like what I'm doing doesn't affect you. But when you're out to deny me the same rights as you, it affects me, with you still being able to have that freedom. So I think it's very important that we have to get back to a place where we can embrace our individuality, but still give other people the same space to do it as well. And I would say 2019, but I definitely think the pandemic definitely amplified it because everyone was at home and we didn't have any escape except for what was on TV or what was on social media. And so everything was like right there, whether it be George Floyd or whether it be, Breonna Taylor or whether it be, what was the other thing over in Europe? Brexit. Everything was just right in front of our faces because we didn't have anywhere else to go. And so it's always darkest before the dawn, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, we have to embrace that, rip the Band-Aid off so we can start to heal. It's just probably going to be a lot worse before it gets better, unfortunately.
Did you know we've got an absolutely wonderful merch store? You can buy merch from the show. You can buy this mug, which supports my rugby team, the Sussex Dragons. This is one of my favorites. This is best part of waking up, turf tears in my cup. We also have t-shirts which support my rugby team and t-shirts which express our dissatisfaction with England rugby for the way they've treated trans people. And for you bikers out there, we've got our Sisters on Steel Motorcycle Club. Scan this QR code or follow the links on tigergirl.substack.com. Now back to the show.
Yeah, and I mean, we've certainly touched on those sort of topics that you've outlined in previous shows. Yeah, it does almost feel like it has to get worse before it can get better. But it's like, how do you deal with that like pain of it getting worse, where every single day faced with these challenges, and for me it feels like there isn't a light at the end of the tunnel just yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's a light. There's a light. It just at the moment it's a train.
Yeah, an oncoming train.
Oh my God, that takes me back to one of my favorite songs from 2015. Jasmine Sullivan, she says, she has this line in her song, we never understand, we never, understand why. We never see it coming, the train headed for us, but we never think of running. It's kind of like a deer in headlights. It's almost like people are standing there waiting to see what happens as opposed to being proactive. And, that's how this Palestine-Israel thing came. This has been boiling up for years and years and years. And people have just sat back and paid it no attention, thinking nothing of it. Same thing with, Ukraine and Russia. Vladimir Putin has always been so outspoken about wanting the USSR to be back together, and it was a mistake and all these things. So why would you not think that he would assert that power, especially over a country that was literally embracing Western democracy and, trying to form constitutions and give people these rights. And now it was so easy for them to just tear that apart. But what they weren't expecting were those people to fight to stand up and defend themselves. And I think that gives me a little bit of hope because people are, harnessing that energy, that fiery Aries energy. Like, I'm fine, but if you stand against me, then I'm going to defend my ground. And I think that's very important, especially the younger generation, not millennials. Generation, is it Z?
Z,
Yeah, Gen Z, like my nephew, he's about to turn 18. That generation, that is going to be the generation that truly brings about a paradigm shift. They're not going out and getting jobs. They're all, doing entrepreneurial work. They're really into the environment. They're really inclusive because they're grown up around it. Whether it be their older brothers and sisters, their parents, but they were exposed to it at such a young age. So that gives me hope, but I don't really want to wait 20 years for it. I'll be 60.
Well, I think a big part of it is, and this is something which I'm very passionate about, is we have to keep the path clear for those that come behind us.
Mm-hmm.
So, to your point, I think I totally agree. I have a son who's 18, and for him, this whole issue, trans issue and gay rights issue, like you say, to him it's like, we've moved past that. But I think what's really important is we've got to make sure that we keep the path clear.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to do. We've got to be the shoulders for them to
Yes.
come out on. And one of the reason why I'm so passionate about this is so many people are not taking that Aries spirit and saying, you know what, I'm actually going to push back.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just allowing themselves to be rolled over, and the complacency, I think, is what really bothers me, because I'm agitated. We lost KineticNRGY. You might have heard about that. The young teen, trans teen. Obviously, in the States, you've recently lost a non-binary kid to violence. And when we spoke out then, or when I spoke out at KineticNRGY's memorial, the Linkin Park song, since you chose to go down the musical route, One More Light. And what I said to the people then, is exactly as Chester Bennington wrote in that song: who cares if one more light goes out? Well, I do. And I think it's especially poignant given that we lost him to suicide.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's more that we can learn from that than we're allowing ourselves to learn from. But yeah, I think I'm very much, I'm in that angry state. So it's interesting what you say about the Aries thing, because
Yeah.
I'm Gemini. So
Ooh.
that's why I'm trans. We're gonna let's just take a quick break, and what we do, Devin, is we try to break the shows into sort of 20-minute sections,
Okay.
and then we upload them as separate parts on YouTube. So sometimes what we chat about falls distinctly within each, sometimes it flows on, but it unfortunately falls to me to end part one. And invite everybody to follow on at the link that's up on one of these sides to catch us in part two. So we'll see you in a bit.
See you then.